morning. It's 8 o'clock on the start of a finally Friday. We have made it to the end of the work week. Glad you're here with us on Second Cup. A gorgeous day ahead, which is so nice because we have waited all week to get here. A, for Friday, but B, the 80-degree weather.
I'm so excited for the weekend.
Right?
Looking forward to it. Got a lot going on this weekend in Western New York for sure.
You're going to Tim McGraw tomorrow.
Maybe.
And then we're going to dinner tonight. So, wow, you've got a busy weekend. Are you going to have enough time to do anything?
Thank you for asking. I'm going to plan on a big nap today.
Okay.
And then we'll have dinner. And then it's not that early, or not that late, which is good.
Yeah,
I'll
love
be
that.
early to bed because I got a big Saturday.
Yeah, a big Saturday is right. Hope you're off to a great start and that you've got big plans as well. And hey, even if you don't, today is a day to get outside and enjoy because the weather kind of changes tomorrow and Sunday. Mm-hmm. We're talking rain both days.
But Josh promised they wouldn't be washouts.
Yes.
He said they'd be scattered showers.
But it's hard to be outside with scattered showers.
Well, it's hard to make definite outside plans.
Exactly.
When you kind of just waiting for rain to come through.
It appears Alana and Adriana are with us this morning. Good morning to my beautiful nieces.
Good morning, girls.
So glad that they're with us as well. Mark says it's raining in Louisville, Kentucky. That stinks. Today it's going to be a gorgeous day.
We got somebody from Louisville and now Bonnie, of course, from
the North Branch of Michigan.
Connie's here from Florida.
Okay, wow, we're
national today.
We are domestic, that's for sure.
Who's here from not in the U.S.? How about that?
Oh, who's international?
Who's international? Are we international today? I bet we got someone from Canada.
Okay, let's talk about this. As you're making weekend plans, do you tip to the extent that you are making up your own tip, or are you just tipping whatever the computer says? Because there's this new video going around on social media that is generating a lot of conversation about how people are tipping and how the computer is programmed to say what you should be tipping.
The thing is, if you didn't pay enough attention and you were just hitting the button, you might not have noticed this, right? So this is a guy who actually noticed that when he hit the 15%, the 20%, they were not accurate compared to the total that he was being shown.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking about this morning a little bit earlier. I'm one of those guys who just hits the button because I don't want to worry about the math, but I expect it to be fair. And I don't expect there to be any fine print.
Yeah, a little wiggle room. There shouldn't be wiggle room when we're talking about percentages, right?
So this restaurant said that, they're creating the tip based on a discount and after tax. But the thing is, the total on the computer screen says one price and the percentages don't add up.
Right. So the total that this guy was seeing was the total that he would pay with his discount, but not with taxes.
Right.
Then when you hit the button for the tip, it included what the entree that did get discounted originally cost and the tax. So the percentages are off.
I don't like that.
I don't think anybody really does. I think I guess here's the thing. It did tell him in a dollar amount what he was going to be paid, right? It showed the percentage and it showed the dollar amount. The thing is, it just didn't connect with what the total.
Okay, so that's kind of like pulling the wool over my eyes. And I get that you have to read the fine print. And I said that this morning. You said that this morning. You got to read the fine print. I get that. But if I'm a consumer...
A little sneaky.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Nobody's saying it's not. I get it. It totally is. I'm glad that the total that he's paying was with his, they took the discount,
But that should be your choice.
Well, it's a restaurant. That was the restaurant's choice. Oh, you're saying to tip on the discount or not? Yeah, I guess so. But you also know, sure, I guess in this case, the guy had sent something back. But also,
if they take it off the bill, it's up to you to decide, okay, what should I be tipping?
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Realistically, you still could make that decision. It's just that if you're like, oh, I want to do 20%, you're
expecting to pay one amount as opposed to the other.
Right. You could still have been like, I'm paying 10%, or there's always the option to write in what you want to pay.
Right. Mark says, who reads the fine print?
Right.
Howard says, don't go by the recommended tip via the computer option. Figure out what works for you and your service. Bob says, should not tip, which includes tax. Barbara says, I tip close to 30% of total. Say bill is $53.82 with taxes. I would add a $15 tip. Okay, so that's a lot of money. Peter said,
is not $6.
Ed has difficulty with the math. I may expect a message from Ed to work the math. Jason says, I usually tip 10 to 15%.
Okay, so here's what Ed's talking about. See how he hits 20% and it's telling him that
Can we go back and pause that?
yeah. And John's going to take it back to the part. Okay, 50. Go to the 20% because I feel like that's the easiest one to do in your head, because if you look at 20%, you've got $27. Okay, pause it. So 20% of $27 would be less than $6. But look at what that tip says, $8.30.
Okay, so this is why I don't like that. The check amount says $27.
Right.
If the check amount is not $27, then the restaurant is pulling a fast one.
Right, and the tip says $8, which is obviously not 20%.
That really bothers me, because you should be upfront, and I get it. It says
No, at
tip
the
is
same
calculated
time-
after tax and before discounts. That's fine.
Yeah. He is seeing the dollar that he'd actually pay. It would
Right.
be $8.30, or you could put the custom in. Yeah, so I guess it is like you just have to think about it.
Be careful about what you're doing. Read the fine print. Check it out for yourself. Kim says, I double the tax. That's it. Carol says, I always leave a tip, never pay.
You know, it's
with
funny on this,
it.
you'd have a hard time doubling the tax because it doesn't break it down.
Also fair.
How would you double the tax on that? You know what I
Okay,
mean?
here's my other question for you. Do you get the paper menu or do you get the QR code menu?
I like a paper menu.
And do you pay with the QR code or do you pay with your credit card?
Pay with my credit card.
I do too. Because I want to see the bill and I want to hold it in
Oh
my
my
hand.
God. I always look at the bill. Paul never looks at the bill.
There are times where I don't because I know exactly what we got and I get, it
And
is
you're
what
like,
it
yeah,
is.
that makes sense.
Right.
So I just double check because sometimes it'll be like, oh, you hit an extra drink, or, oh, you know what? We actually didn't order the whatever.
Sure. James is a paper menu guy just like me.
I mean, I'm not throwing a fit over it, but
No, of course.
people
But
make
you're saying, oh,
mistakes.
by the way, you
Yeah.
know, I think I was overcharged here. The paper receipt will break everything down for you.
Mhm.
And I feel like, you know, it's easier to kind of
it's stressful
decide what you want to pay.
when they come to your table and just do that.
I actually like that.
No, but without giving you the receipt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're just like, here you go. You can just
Right.
whatever. And you're like, okay.
It's the same thing with that screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Lori says, I don't even look forward to eating out anymore. Lauren always checks the receipt. Howard says, but tip based on service and restaurant quality. The better the service or better food equals more tip. Georgie, good morning. This is why I always set my own tip. So, you know, we have a system, you double whatever the first number is in the total bill. And of course, that's after tax.
Right.
So they're realistically getting more money.
Right.
Your mom.
So she's saying, remember what I was saying before, that like, right, if you do get a discount, like you get the coupon or something like that, you are supposed to technically
Yeah.
tip on the full amount, right? So that's what she's saying. Yeah, you're supposed to tip on the full price before the discount. I mean, it makes sense to me too. It's just that like, if you weren't paying attention, you'd be like,
Something's amiss here.
something's amiss. Yeah, right.
Michael says, even takeouts want to tip. You walk in, pick up your pizza, and they want to tip for handing you the box. I know, I don't do that. I don't tip on takeout. Ever. And it's just because
What if a pizza delivery guy comes to your house?
we don't ever get pizza delivered. We just go and get it.
I
I'll
always-
drive to
I
South Buffalo and
always go
grab
get
it.
it. But Paul and my brother love to have pizza delivered.
Why? That's a waste of money.
Who do you think you're telling that's a waste of money to? I will go pick up that pizza every time, but they like to get it delivered. So you know what I will say, we had our nephews the one time, and we were catching up with people, and so like Paul's like, let's just get this pizza delivered. And on that occasion, I was like, okay, because like they had just gotten there. We're like,
Right, you
let's
don't wanna
catch up. I don't
leave.
want to leave. But then I'm running around my house trying to find enough to tip the pizza delivery guy, and then like I found all these singles, and I ended up giving him like $11 in singles, and I'm
Probably
like,
was like, oh, what does this girl do for a living?
like I promise, it's,
I'm a
like,
news
it's an
anchor.
okay tip, but it was like all in singles, and I was like, bye.
She just came from a meat raffle. I'll tell you, the last time I had a pizza delivered, I went to a certain local pizzeria and was basically told by the delivery driver to F myself. And so that was the last time
Wait,
I ever got
why?
pizza delivered.
Why? Oh, because you didn't tip?
No, we would have tipped, but this woman was not nice, so we actually didn't tip. She was honking in front of our
For
house.
you to come get the pizza.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we live on a main road, so we're like hearing honks and horns and sirens all the time. Why would I think that it's the delivery driver trying to deliver the pizza with her horn?
Okay,
So finally she gets to the door, rings the doorbell, and was like, I've been honking.
that's a no for me.
Right. Guess what? Thanks for the pizza.
That's a no for me. You wouldn't honk to go pick somebody up.
That's
You
just
shouldn't
rude.
honk to deliver. Yeah, no, that's rude. I wouldn't do that.
Megan, good morning. My friend and I always go to a certain restaurant and then we split the bill. But when our separate bill came, we noticed that the suggested tips amount for each bill was for the total bill, not the separate bills. So if we weren't paying attention and both just wrote in the 20%, they would have received double amounts. Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
mhm. And like, was that a mistake?
Me.
You never know. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
I do too. How rude of her. The nerve of her. Did she know? It wasn't even me that she was dealing with.
I want to come to your house for some reason and just lay on my horn outside. I'm going to tape it, you guys. I can't wait. Invite me over.
It was really Russ who answered the door.
Invite me to come drop something off for you.
No. Linda says, good for you, Ed. That's uncalled for from that pizza delivery driver. Right, exactly.
That's a no.
Right, Sean. Imagine the waitress coming to your table and saying, your food is ready. You can go to the kitchen window and pick it up. That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
So funny. Sean. Hey, Sean. Say hi to Amy. Last time I was in Buffalo, I didn't tip the guy because it took 2 hours for our pizza to come. Oh, my God. At a sit-down restaurant, no less. Yikes, Sean. Pretty soon the mailman will want a tip. Mary says, I give our mailman a Christmas present.
Can I tell you what Sean's talking about?
Yeah. Was it like a late night thing?
No, Paul making pizza.
Oh.
Sean is one of Paul's friends, and Paul made these pizzas that took 2 hours. They have a little child. I was like, I need to find food for this poor kid who's starving.
What was Paul doing?
Oh, he thinks he is a master chef.
I'm sure he's a good cook.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the pizza's delicious, but like their baby had to go to bed. I'm like, Paul, get this pizza in the oven. He's like, you can't mess with the, and I'm like, oh my God, you can, shove it in the oven.
Shirley, good morning. We went to Lucia's last night. Service was terrific, so tipping was easy. Love that. They probably had a great view of the sunset too, right by the lake in Hamburg along Route 5.
Oh, it's so nice.
Sarah says, love it there. I actually haven't been to Lucia's in a while. One of my favorite restaurants, Prescott Provisions. Oh, gosh, I could eat there every night and spend a fortune.
Real quick, Lauren. When Paul was at our house, he was getting food ideas from Brian for the firehouse.
Brian's a chef, by the way.
I literally can't tell you guys what it's. This kid,
he's not a kid either.
He
He's
thinks
40
he's a
years
sous chef
old.
or a regular chef now. Like I come in the other day, there's just so many spices. They're just.
But aren't you glad he uses them? Your food's not bland.
It's not bland. But one time I was like, wow, there's a lot of flavors that you put here.
Sarah says the Grange is my favorite restaurant. Peter, I've never been to Prescott. Oh, you gotta go. Paul is actually with us here. Good morning to you, Paul. Sean, Paul, do you both want to join us here on Second Cup? We can send you a link. We could have this conversation in front of everyone. I feel like that's a great idea.
Cereal next time for you, Sean.
Very rude is right.
Very rude.
Listen, we're more than happy to facilitate this conversation. We love hearing your voices.
Oh
Jason says he's never been to Lucia's either. Yeah, it's right across the street from Hoax.
I haven't been to Lucia's for years. You know where else I haven't been for years and I'm dying to go again? And Paul's never been. Mulberries.
Ah, delicious.
I just haven't been for the longest time. It's
so good.
A little bit of a drive from we just never think to go there, you know?
Oh, Sybil says that there's a lilac festival in Rochester. What are the details about that, Sybil? I love lilacs.
Have you ever heard of the Lilac Festival?
No.
Oh, it's huge. They're like downtown, has all these trees. They line this park. It's really, really beautiful.
Okay, so I'm just pulling it up here on the old Google. May 10th through the 19th. Okay, so that's coming up next week.
Very popular.
Oh, Mother's Day weekend.
Uh-huh.
That's a great idea.
And
10
they
free
do
days of
food,
sirens.
They do like all this stuff. I've actually been before
Mhm.
because I have friends who live in Rochester. And then remember when I worked for the station that I would occasionally read the Rochester News for? This was my old station.
Oh, yeah,
remember?
yeah.
Tons of Lilac Festival stories.
Wow, this is at Highland Park in Rochester. That's very cool. Well, there's a lilac parade. Let's learn more
Oh my
about
God,
that.
yes, because the stations all would go into the Lilac Parade.
That's Saturday morning at 10:30. Wow, this is so cool.
Is anybody else like really stuffy lately? The tree pollen I looked up today was really high because I hear it in my voice. And I am allergic to tree pollen. I'm wondering if everybody's, and then I'm also nervous that I'm getting what everybody else has had around here. Everybody's had like a spring cold around here. Are we seeing this, Cuppies? Is this what everybody is seeing?
I think it's all in your head.
No, see, look it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tree pollen is crazy, very stuffy. I looked it up and all the tree pollen for the whole week said high. That's like the dust that you see on stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The children here all have a cold.
To clarify, he is not talking about his nieces and nephews right now.
Oh, no, we're talking about the kids we work with. Sorry.
It's really funny. Yes, Molly says her eyes burn. Thank you. I said to Ed today, I go, I'm taking an allergy pill. He goes, okay. I go, you want one? He's like, no.
They don't even work right away either.
I know. That's the worst thing about
Why don't you
them.
just take it every day?
Well, I take the spray. I take the spray every day, but I don't take that. You know what I should? Right now is the time to be taking it.
Yeah. Russ takes that with his
Claritin.
his variety of vitamins.
Mine's Generitin.
You should see, yeah, Flaretin.
Generitin.
You should see the vitamins that Russ takes. It's ridiculous. It's like he's got this vitamin, biotin, and collagen, and this atin, and whatever.
Yeah. Kathy says she's laughing out loud at the kids.
Okay, let's also talk about this. How about this? Maryvale schools taking in the migrants. About 80 of them have been enrolled in Maryvale schools for the last year or so.
Children have to come here, go to school.
They are among the 500 asylum seekers who have been bussed up from New York City and have been here since last summer. Recently, the Maryvale superintendent had said that they are only getting about half of the reimbursement from New York City, even though they had been promised 100%. He spoke to our Kristen Moran a couple of weeks ago. And what he said the total price tag was about $800,000. So I took that question to the county executive yesterday, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And why are they only getting half? So
we're talking $400,000 from where?
New York City as a reimbursement.
Okay, so this is, but he says, listen, we need $800,000 to cover the costs of everything. And a lot of the costs, what they talked about is like, we're bringing in children who may not be English language speakers.
Right, so they have teachers hired and all of these other expenses associated with these kids. The county executive says, hold up. He says, I am very disappointed with the Maryvale superintendent because he's not being accurate. And insofar, he says the guy's budgeting for next year also.
Right, in this.
Right, in the $800,000 price tag. So
now, I guess my question then would be, would that money then come the next year? Or if you don't ask for it now, do you not get it?
Well, and that's a great question. The county executive says that they would be reimbursed based on their New York State school aid. So the money would be coming. But here's the other thing, too. In January, Kristen spoke to the superintendent, and the superintendent said it was about a $420,000 price tag. So you can see a little bit of a difference and a little bit of a disconnect here.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's still costing money.
So maybe when we talk to that superintendent, that is the question. It's, are you budgeting? Are you trying to think ahead for next year?
Joyce says it's an upsetting subject. We should take care of our own first. And she says she's sorry, not sorry. Cheryl, though, says Joe D'Angelo, the superintendent, has told him he'd sit down with him, and no response from polling cars. Big surprise. So I just posted that story on WKBW.com. You can see me ask the question and say, okay, well, Mr. Poloncarz, can you assure Erie County and these districts that they will be paid back 100%? And he answers the question. So you can see that for yourself right now on WKBW.com. Johnny, my boy Marrero, is going to put in a link to the story in the comments.
Jeff Baker, 3 sides to every story.
No kidding.
Isn't that the truth?
Though Peter says thinking a year ahead is the way to go.
I don't disagree with that, only if we're doing budgeting now. You know what I'm saying? But that's the question that has to be asked, right?
So here's the link if you are interested in seeing what the county executive had to say.
Yeah.
And Kristen's reporting here about what the superintendent is looking for right now on WKBW.com. Yeah, it is controversial. And you know what the county executive was saying, that with this Jewish Family Services initiative that's kind of helping the asylum seekers, they may not necessarily even be in Cheektowaga next year. They would be spread out potentially around Erie County, so it would ease the burden and perhaps be a lesser cost.
Right.
Yeah, Marguerite says, especially if politics are involved, right?
Honey, yeah. Even thinking a year ahead, you never know what'll be dumped on the school's lap.
It's a tough decision. I mean, what do you do? I mean, it's a cost no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kim says, I thought New York City was taking care of all expenses for them, but they do deserve an education also.
Agreed. Yeah, if you're going to bring children here, you want them to be learning because you want them to be able to, be functional adults as they get older.
Well, and here's the other thing. The county executive said to me, if we're talking about a nickel here or a dime there, and we're not focusing on education, and this is a direct quote, he said, then we've got our heads in the wrong places.
Sure.
So it was a kind of interesting conversation.
Okay.
When does it stop? Connie wants to know. Elizabeth, no, they will get dumped into the public schools so classes can be even larger. And we know that there are so many cuts, coming to school districts, especially with that pandemic funding.
Yeah.
Jeff Baker, I definitely want payment in advance from New York State.
Right. There's the 3 sides to every story. I like that, Jeff. I'm going to use that from now on.
Okay, how about this one? Try this one on for size. The protests. They continue overnight.
Not here.
Nope. All is
across the
calm
country, yeah.
is here in Buffalo. But those protesters continue to stand in places like Portland, Oregon. That's where we saw a lot of the activity last night.
Yeah, these kids had barricaded themselves in the library at school. They were using furniture to keep them, so police went in and got them.
Mm-hmm.
You see this unrest at colleges, and it's the perfect place for this stuff, right? Because you've got these young people who are finding themselves a lot of the times, right? They're becoming adults.
Did you ever protest at Kent State?
I don't really think I'm a protester. I don't know. I'm an observer.
I'm right there with you.
I'm more of an observer and than, somebody who, I don't know.
I think it's because we're objective people and we can genuinely see both sides of a story.
Yeah, I also think that even when I was in college, I was doing this, right? Like doing the broadcast thing. So like I didn't get too involved, like hands-on in things because I was kind of covering it. Even when you're in college, you're kind of getting the idea of what you're doing for the future, right?
The idea of getting involved in a protest at a young age is interesting. I mean, it's happened for decades, right? People feel passionately about
and again,
things.
like college campuses, it's just a place where like you can see they're like growing minds. They're becoming adults for the first time. Like they're trying out all these new things. I don't.
Michael says it's because we're good people. That's the difference.
No. Everybody, listen, you stand up for what you believe in, and I believe that. But for us, like our responsibility is to kind of look at both sides, and it kind of I always felt like that, like that it's important to get both sides.
Patty, good morning. I don't think it's just students. I read they're busing in people to start these protests, and they're 30 to 40-year-olds. And well, right. I mean, so we know that a majority of the people who were arrested at UB on, Wednesday night, were not students.
And not affiliated, yeah.
So Shirley says, damage is disgusting and unacceptable. Kim says, I don't think they even know what they're protesting for.
A lot of people say that. I like Jason. It's like Jesus say the world needs peace. I know.
Oh my gosh, right, Mark. That was when I first moved to Buffalo. It was the Occupy Buffalo. Through rain, through snow, Occupy Buffalo. And they set up the tents in Niagara Square, and you're like, well, who are these people?
Yeah.
And what are they doing down there?
I mean, that was happening all over the place.
Right. Well, and then, I mean, it's like a cycle, you know, we find another issue and we protest. And that's fine. You have a freedom to do that, a right to do that.
Howard, protesting are a right. However, making it a damaging effect, it's not a right. And I think, when we talk about the police breaking up what happened at UB, we had that one student on from UB today who's like, listen, I'm Jewish. I felt unsafe. And so ultimately, I think safety is a priority no matter where you are. So you want everybody to feel safe, right? I think that's the number one thing.
It's a community standard, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's so important.
Hey, we got to get the show on the road. Thanks for being with us. Hope you have a great weekend.
Have a
It's
great-
Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. Enjoy.